Hello, and welcome to this new channel where we are talking about how to navigate the spiritual wild. And maybe some of you aren't familiar, but if you've ever been to places like Bali or Ibiza or Tulum, there's a whole network of like very enlightened places with enlightened people. And sometimes you can find them kind of off-roading as well, like in normal cities. But it's a particular breed of enlightened being masquerading as a normal human. And I wanted to give you a kind of a field guide so that you can be ready to encounter these beings and make sure that you make the most of that opportunity. Because it can be, it can be intimidating. It can be like, overwhelming to just be in the presence of someone who's so enlightened. And yeah, just so you can recognize it and just be ready to soak up all those pearls of wisdom. So this first episode, we're going to focus on those spiritual peacocks. And, I've been really fortunate just in the last month. I visited Peru's Sacred Valley, and I met two there. And then now I'm in Baja del Sur, California. I met another one here. I kind of thought, oh no, all the amazing spiritual men are gone. And then I met one here. So yeah, I want to talk about him first. Eze. Like, I met him, and I could just tell right away the luminosity in his eyes. And, he told me right away that he was instructed to talk to me because of my energy. And he had a near-death experience like a year and a half ago, and now he has like an archangel with him all the time. And it was like he was very serious. It was really important that we talk. And I kept waiting for the big wisdom or nugget to come through. And I couldn't, I don't know. But he's like obviously a walking, reigning deity on earth because he like had a near-death experience. So like he's writing a book. I don't know what the book says, but he's writing a book. He's writing a book about it. And yeah, like he's basically God's mouthpiece. And I guess, talking about himself is his mission in life. Like that's what he said right away. He's like, I just want to do this. I just want to talk to people. But when we were talking, like, yeah, he just had a lot of amazing stories, like how his parents gave him peyote at 8 months because, like obviously nothing says good parenting like psychedelic baby bottles, and how he like mastered the art of sexual energy management at age 10 and then like later perfected it with one of the disciples of Montauk Chia, who's like the guru of the microcosmic orbit and all of that. So I was like, whoa. I couldn't really tell. He actually seemed pretty asexual, but I'm sure he's just managing his energy really well. Yeah, and like he does stuff all the time, like manifests free plane tickets. He's got like amazing clients like Elon Musk's brother. He's just like, obviously his life is amazing. And like one of the most important things that he told me was that, everything in my life is my fault. Like, for example, I just moved into this apartment and I don't think anybody lived here for a while. So there was like an issue with the gas when I moved in. And a few days in, the washing machine stopped working while I was away. I wasn't even here. But it was my fault because I decided with my free will that it wasn't going to work. So I made him dinner and I was like hoping he would help me fix it. And then he said that I was using my free will and it was broken. And I was like, oh my God, like, wow. And then he told me about all his amazing clients who would just buy a new washing machine because they've manifested an amazing life for themselves and that's how they do it. So I was like, whoa, that's really important information. And I'm so glad you shared that with me. So that was like really, oh my God, to be somebody like that was just incredible. And then there was this other guy named Sean that I met when I was in Peru. And, he's got a little bit more of a personality. Like Eze was a little, I think he's so high up that like he lost his personality and sense of humor. Like he's just obviously super enlightened and he's just really deadpan. And I think I think it's about love, but I couldn't really tell. Like he told me he didn't really care about the washing machine. He just wanted to explore the energy. Sean had more of a personality and like sense of humor, but he's also a secret wizard. And yeah, like not everybody gets to know that about him, but when you get to know him better, and like he told me, everyone falls in love with him. So I was like, whoa, I was totally prepared to not fall in love because But he wears this big rock around his neck, like this big green blob. And of course, you're like, what's the rock about? And I think it might just be a segue so he can tell this really powerful story about how it was left for him, like in the past, through a channeled reading. He was told that I don't know if it was like his past self or like his spirit self, like left sacred objects for him in sacred sites around the world. So of course he's in the sacred valley of Peru and he finds this blob. Like obviously Merlin left it for him because he's Merlin. And so he's kind of like a secret wizard, but he wears the rock, so you can kind of tell that he might be a wizard. And he's got like the little hat with a feather. So yeah, I was kind of tipped off. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And we hung out a lot, but there was like some weird stuff, like some intimacy issues. I think maybe he's like communing so much with the universe and my feet that like, and he's dedicated his life to ayahuasca. So maybe there's just not really room for like real romantic connection because he's really expanded. So yeah, we spent a lot of time together, but I kind of felt like, yeah, like he didn't really express a lot. Like maybe he's just not as human anymore. Like I think he's just expanded into more of that because like normally there's like physical chemistry. I think maybe he's just beyond physicality, except for my feet. He really liked my feet. Yeah. So I mean that was kind of interesting. Like, but he seemed really excited about who he is and what he's doing. And oh my God, I almost forgot to mention he's met two of his future selves. Yeah, I never even heard of future selves before, but he figured out that these two people that he met, they both happen to be Americans just like him, which is so cool. Like, I mean, that's so cool that they're like on the same timeline. They're in the same country. They meet each other. And this one guy is like super, I mean, I was kind of there when they were having a video call and this guy's like, whoa, like way over the top, like blah, 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 just like talking. And I guess he didn't have any money to like pay rent. So like Sean gave him a place to stay and he like gave him a credit card. Of course, when you meet your future self and they can't pay the rent, I mean, what are you going to do? And then he was talking about his other future self who's a woman. And of course he fell madly in love with her right away, but she was with somebody else. So instead he just like hired her as his dakini and life coach. So yeah, like he used to work on Wall Street and now he's like hanging out in Machu Picchu land. And I guess he's like working some new strategies and he's really good with magical thinking. I was noticing like he's not worried about like visas or taxes or things like that. He's just really like in his flow and like he's super profound. Yeah. And he's paying a lot of people as well to support that, which is amazing. So that was a lot of fun meeting Merlin. And then the last one I want to tell you about, Jared, like, I mean, he seems super normal. Like I saw him, he looks like a Midwest farm boy. He's got like his little green ball cap, his little tight t-shirt and jeans, like boyish charms, charismatic, seems super normal. And you just got to give him a few minutes. And then the verbal fire hose gets revved up and you start to notice just like the sheer volume of words was like, whoa, man. I mean, this guy must be channeling something because it's coming out like, but you realize right away, like he has a message for you and he's seeing your soul and you need to hear this like right now because that's how he lives his life. Like he never knows where he's going. The universe just like scoops him up and sends him to the next place. I mean, it happened. We had just met. I thought we were going to hang out for a month. And then he's like, oh, I got to go to this village north of Peru. And then the next week he's like, oh, I got to go to Sedona. I got to do this. He's just like, man, like he's on call for the universe. But yeah, it was super cool to like see how he lives that way. Like he doesn't even charge clients for retreats, like because money doesn't matter and it just comes. But yeah, like he just talks a lot about himself and his mission. He's like a walk-in soul, which was super cool. And he's like awakening blueprints in people. And like he was awakening my blueprint and like he was saying all these things and I'm sure they're so true and like I just can't see it yet. But I was like, wow, like so grateful to meet somebody like him because like obviously he's like living everything he says is like super divinely inspired and he gets these messages and just goes and sits down next to people and like knows what's in their backpack. Like he knew this woman had a journal in her backpack and she was like, I just took it out of a box today. And it was like, holy shit. So Anyway, I am just feeling like I must be magical too. Like if I'm meeting all these men, 3 men in 1 month, like I must be so special. I must be special too if they're coming to me. And I just wanted to share with you because like these people are out there and they have a lot of wisdom for us. And just so you know that it's coming, just so you get codes, blueprints, timelines, channelings, like know the lingo. But it doesn't really matter because you don't really have to talk anyway. They do all the talking. It doesn't, like your story, no one's interested. They just need to talk. They need the audience. So I wanted to share with you about my experience with these spiritual peacocks because you might not spot them at first, but once you get talking, it's unmistakable. And be prepared to, receive the wisdom. It's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity when they descend on your path. So I hope this has been helpful. Next time we'll talk about a whole other breed of the spiritual wild. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode about spiritual peacocks because it's been a super fun ride for me. All right, have an enlightened day.